Hey everybody, Christy Keenan here for SuperLobby.com. I am on the line with Leighton Webb. Leighton is the CEO of PickChamps.com. It's a really exciting new site that we have just integrated into the SuperLobby. So we thought it's the perfect opportunity. We'll get the CEO on board. Why have me explaining PickChamps to you guys when we could speak directly to the main man? So first things first, Leighton, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Christy?
I am tremendous, thanks. I'm really well. And welcome to the Super Lobby. Really nice to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you. We're glad to be a part of the community and looking forward to working with you.
Perfect. So, Leighton, from what I gather, you guys are really bringing something innovative and disruptive to what is, let's be honest, a really crowded DFS space these days. But first things first, before we really go into that, I would love to hear a little bit about your guys' backstory. Who have you got in the team? Where are you based, etc., etc.?
Yeah, so the backstory is we're based in Manhattan, and the team, we have about a dozen people who come from the fantasy space and sports space. My background is actually in video games and bringing online products and games to market. And so we saw an opportunity in daily fantasy, and the team has a lot of passion, and they've worked in the sports space for a long time. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we're doing specifically. But it really came from a place of passion and something that we wanted to be involved in.
Fantastic. That's what we like to hear. So when you say you came from video games, give me a little bit more on that.
Sure. So I started in the video game industry with Ubisoft Entertainment back at the launch of the next generation consoles. Was involved at AOL. I ran their online games business back in the peak days of AOL in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then I can go on and on. But I've always been drawn to innovative entertainment products on emerging platforms. So daily fantasy fits that criteria in terms of a new product, let's say, or a new entertainment experience that's in a new sector, a new vertical. So when you have that convergence of two different types of opportunities, it makes for some very exciting things that you can do from a business and marketing standpoint. So that's always been a personal passion of mine. And so when I saw daily fantasy and what was happening from an entertainment perspective, so to speak, it was something that I couldn't pass up.
Well, that's really great, Leighton, and that's something that seems to have come up a lot every time I speak to someone who's heavily involved in the industry, such as yourself. It's really, there is just that exciting feeling that comes across of just being on the tipping point of something really exciting that's happening, and just being at the forefront of a bit of a revolution. And certainly at Super Lobby, we're really excited by it. It's a great time to be involved in DFS. So anyway, moving on to PickChamps specifically, Leighton, could you tell me a little bit? It's DFS with a difference. You guys are going kind of with the statistical model, with precedence over the traditional salary cap kind of format.
Yeah, definitely. And statistical model, and I'll explain this, but the word statistics sounds a little dry, and kind of not much fun. And so what we looked at was, and you mentioned earlier in our discussion here, is that there's a lot of activity in daily fantasy, obviously, a lot of sites, almost a new site every few weeks. But in my opinion, there's not a lot of product innovation. Everyone's following the salary cap format. There isn't, even if you look at the market leaders, there really isn't that much difference in one side over the other. And then there's been a lot of talk, and I think the casual fan is starting to realize that not only is daily fantasy a game of skill, it's really a game of skill. It's very difficult to consistently win within this space. So all of that, as we looked at those two different areas, we wanted to create a gameplay experience that was frankly more natural, let's say, more engaging for the end user. So, and we can talk about this, and I'll walk you through the gameplay. But at a high level, it's really prop picks for daily fantasy sports. So you're predicting, you said the word statistics, but it's really predicting the outcome. So it's very natural to the way I think sports fans watch games. So you're always rooting for, a particular quarterback, a particular running back. Are they going to achieve, are they going to pass for so many touchdowns, achieve a certain statistic? So it's, in my opinion, a much more, let's say, natural way that people watch the game and root for their particular teams, which of course is based on statistics. But statistics only in that there's obviously stats and data that the users are looking at, but in my opinion, a much more engaging, direct experience for the sports fan.
I love it. So it's on a really sort of micro level, and then that gives you presumably so much scope to play with in terms of these props, in terms of these individual matchups that users can get behind.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we think that this will, obviously, fans who do follow stats in a lot of detail, obviously that will benefit them. But we think that this kind of levels the playing field to some degree, in that there's so many different combinations, so many different types of picks that I can make, that we're not creating an ecosystem where that only favors, let's say, that top 5% or top 10% of players. There's so many different variables and so many different ways that you can construct your picks, you allocate your points in a particular tournament, that it's going to create, let's say, an experience that has a lot more longevity for the casual fan, which I think is a real problem in our industry. I don't think that the casual fan has realized yet how difficult it is to win on a consistent basis. And so unless, we as an industry, the folks that are creating these games are doing something to address that, we're not creating the best of experiences for the user that really, creates an experience that has a lot of sustainability, because ultimately only the top 5 to 10% are going to win. And that middle segment of the user base, which is so incredibly important to the ecosystem, potentially diminishes.
That's a particularly interesting point, Leighton. And personally, I'm a poker guy. Come from a really a poker background that stretches back years, and that is something that has ultimately DFS seems to be taking over from poker in that regard, just in terms of taking care of that middle tier of players. In poker weren't necessarily all that well looked after. In DFS, it certainly sounds like you guys at PickChamps are really determined to make the most of the full scope of your user base.
Definitely, and there are obviously a lot of people in this industry who come from a poker background. I worked at BWIN as well in the poker industry, and I think we need to be careful. There are a lot of similarities, but obviously we don't want DFS to go the way of poker. For example, starting to see a lot of downward pressure on the rake, for example, to create this ecosystem that favors only a certain segment. So that's where I come back to. We're not seeing yet, and this is why I'm so excited about what we're doing, really any product innovation. We're kind of trying to pigeonhole DFS into this poker model, which there are a lot of similarities in terms of the ecosystem and the way the tournaments are structured. But the real opportunity, as I see it, is to create new, more engaged, true second screen experiences. Even today, I would argue that what we see in the marketplace is very passive when it comes to once a game starts, the way the consumer interacts with the product.
Yeah.
And so I think, as with any industry, particularly in games and entertainment, at the end of the day, it comes down to the product. At the end of the day, it's about entertainment value for the consumer, and the consumer has lots of different choices. And so we need to create experiences that are just as engaging as, let's say, experiences that don't involve a monetary component. And so that's where I see the real opportunity, because at the end of the day, we don't want to have a commodity type situation where there's no difference in product one, game two versus game two, because I don't feel that's sustainable. And so the real opportunity is to create this more engaging experience, which is what I think we've taken the first step to do.
Brilliant, and it very much sounds like PickChamps are going to be at the forefront, on the cutting edge of the user experience. So Leighton, just before we wrap it up, why should SuperLobby's users play on PickChamps?
I think it's all the things that I just said. It's if I'm a user, so I'm looking at SuperLobby, again, there's not, the only real difference in the products is a particular tournament. You know, what's the guarantee? What's the guaranteed prize pool? What's the overlay? And if I was a user, I would also want to see what's different, what's being done that's perhaps more engaging, that's more fun for me as a user. So this is to our positioning. I always use the word kind of players play horizontally. And what I mean by that is they're playing on multiple sites, they're trying out different things. And I would say that what we have, our product, is uniquely different. There's nothing else like it in the market. So I think just for that, I would give it a try. And I think the users will find that it's an actually more engaging, more fun experience.
Brilliant, good man. And is there anything that you particularly want to plug? Any bonuses or setups?
Yeah, a couple of things. So first off is we're offering a $10 instant bonus to make a deposit. So again, that's not a time restricted where I have to play through to earn that bonus. That's immediate. So a user can go in, make a deposit, and they're going to get a free, let's say $10 to go in and play. And then I would just keep an eye on a lot of new features that we didn't talk about on this particular call, and we can come back and talk to it at some point in the future, hopefully. But for example, we offer a multi-sport contest. So once the NBA goes live, we're going to have contests that users can pick players from both the NFL and NBA. So the multi-sport capability is going to be really interesting. And then what we call live pick. So, and we haven't announced this yet, but the ability to actually make picks while a tournament is going on. So again, this very immersive, real-time experience for the user that people should keep an eye on. It's gonna be very exciting, and really, what they've seen is really scratching the surface of what we have planned between now and the end of the year.
It's a very exciting time to be involved with you guys then. It sounds like the days of passively sweating your results are over. The user is going to be engaged the full way through the process, the full way through the sporting weekend. I, for one, am very excited to experience it. Leighton Webb, thank you so much for sparing the time to speak to SuperLobby users. Hopefully we will have you back on before long to discuss some new features. And all the best with PickChamps, sir.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for taking the time.
Very welcome. Bye now.